the Weekly Digest, a government information agency program that keeps you informed on what the administration has been doing that will create a better environment for citizens. I encourage you to stay tuned. In this week's presentation for the period February 14 to 20, 2015, Chief Justice's ruling to stay conservatory order was correct. Restored money spent on Guyanese. Push for literacy by grade 4 has been given impetus. New local readers launched. Joint services to heighten border patrols to curb illegal activities, and the children's costume and float parade mesmerizes Guyanese. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal has pointed out that the Chief Justice's ruling against a conservatory order to stay spending by the Finance Minister was correct, since the monies were spent on Guyanese.
After several hearings, Chief Justice Ian Chang ruled that Opposition Leader David Granger's application to stop government spending in 2015 had no legal basis and dismissed it. His decision was delivered against the action that was filed on December 11, 2014. However, Attorney General Anil Nandlal recapped that while Granger did file a general endorsed writ against himself, the Finance Minister and Speaker of the National Assembly, it was to stay any spending until the hearing was complete.
So the question before that court, therefore, was, should a conservatory order be granted restraining the Minister of Finance and the other ministers of government from spending monies for the year 2015 in an unauthorized manner.
In refusing to grant the conservatory order, the Chief Justice upheld the submissions of the AG in that the application for the conservatory order, because of the time that it was made, could only relate to the spending of the year 2015, and therefore the application for the order did not relate to spending for 2014. He emphasized that the monies spent was used on the people of Guyana.
The student loan at the university, all the student loans were cut out of the budget. We put back that money and the students now have loans to go to the university. The $10,000 education grant that was given to a child in every public school throughout the length and breadth of this country, that was cut out of the budget. We put that back in. Hundreds of employees in the state sector, from Office of the President to the Ministry of Finance to the Ministry of Housing, GINA, NCN, they were all cut. None of these people could have been paid. None of these employees could have been paid.
The AG also noted that Granger was asking the court to stop legal government spending and therefore act illegally. He also lamented the fact that other parts of the ruling were distorted by some members of the media.
The only eyewitness in the death of Dr. Walter Rodney has reappeared before the Commission of Inquiry to give evidence. Brother of the late Walter Rodney, Donald Rodney, took the commissioners through the events of the day the explosion occurred that killed his brother and injured himself.
Donald Rodney pointed out the route taken in order to give a practical synopsis of what occurred on June 13, 1980. He told the commission investigating the circumstances surrounding his brother's death that he had parked his car in Howe Street facing east with Walter in the front passenger seat. He then went to murder-accused Sergeant Gregory Smith's house in Russell Street, which is north of Howe Street, and collected a package purportedly containing a walkie-talkie for testing at several points on the said night. Assistant Lead Counsel for the Commission put the points of the day's hearing in a capsule.
He recounted that Walter told him it was not necessary to follow Gregory Smith's direction in relation to the route they were to take. The route taken becomes important because we have the evidence from Donald Rodney where he said that from House Street they drove straight and they continued until they went over Princess Street into John Street.
Afterwards, the Rodney brothers crossed into Norton Street, across to Durban Street, past the Camp Street prison, crossed into Ben Street to the corner of Hatfield and John Streets, where the second light signal test was supposed to be conducted. With the car parked roughly about 94 yards away from the prison, the test failed and the explosion occurred.
He said the second test was never completed because he never saw the flash. What happened instead was that he felt an impact. He heard a loud noise and he was practically falling out of the car and he had to brace himself to stable himself. Then he got up, put on his glasses, realized that he had no feelings in his fingers, having tried to put on his glasses, and then he proceeded to run to get help. He realized that Walter needed help, and all he could have done at that time, he said, was to run to Dr. Omowali's house, which, according to the sworn land surveyor, it's approximately 800 plus feet from that location on Hatfield Street.
Donald Rodney also pointed to what he termed as various inconsistencies regarding the court document of his 1982 trial, when he was charged for the possession of arms and ammunition and sentenced to 18 months in prison.
As the Ministry of Education pushes to ensure all children are literate by grade 4, it has launched its first local readers for grades 1 to 3.
It took a team of local writers 9 months to produce the Atlantic Readers for primary school students. The 3 books, which will be used for children from grades 1 to 3, were launched during a ceremony which was held at the Port Moran Primary School on February 19.
All the texts focus on the balanced approach to the development of reading skills at grade levels. Grades 1 to 3 also have workbooks, and we will see those later, attached that emphasize the development and mastery of literacy skills. Together, this combination will help the Ministry of Education to deliver to the school system a product that is effective and will lead to higher student achievement when utilized properly within the classroom.
The launch of the books will address something specific and short-term to the primary education sector, as it will eventually benefit all school-aged children and the nation at large.
The book, as you have been told, colorful, child-friendly, large print. When we speak of a market, you don't see a supermarket. You see a market like you would see in Guyana. You see our Guyanese boys and girls, people looking like them. You see an integration of stories, of core subjects. So although we're reading, we're teaching social studies and science, and are building from one chapter to the other on these stories. In fact, I heard some of you giggling when Daddy was helping to wash the dishes. Yeah, we kind of build that into the stories.
The minister said that they will look at the possibility of moving into the Caribbean with these child-friendly publications, while calls were made for parents and teachers to play their part in assisting their children in using the books for their benefit. Gracing the occasion, President Donald Ramotar congratulated the Education Ministry's officials for the excellent work they have been doing in the sector and encouraged them to continue in their efforts.
The Guyana Police Force will be intensifying its efforts to curb illegal activities at the Guyana-Venezuela border, and in this regard, a memorandum of understanding was signed among 4 law enforcement agencies for use of the Guyana Police Force patrol base.
The Standard Operational Procedures document was signed among the Guyana Police Force, the Guyana Defense Force, the Guyana Revenue Authority, Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, and the Guyana Energy Agency, to formalize the use of the Guyana Police Force patrol base, which will be located at the mouth of the Winey River.
The model of this vessel, or this vessel that we are about to signify our joint cooperation and collaboration with other members of the security sector this morning, is part and parcel of capacity building, joint capacity building. Given the, number one, the paucity of resources that is available to each agency, and the need for each agency to use their resources efficiently and effectively, in keeping with their respective mandates, it became necessary for us to jointly collaborate.
The floating base will enable a quicker response to piracy, fuel smuggling, contraband, and other related illegal activities emanating from the Atlantic and Winey and Barima areas.
Although there are stations along the Barima, that is the Imbatiro and Marawana stations, the need for the floating base, because of the connecting of the Barima and Winey rivers by the Mora Passage, the need for the floating base in that area can be of paramount importance in response to incidents in the Winey and in the Atlantic. there have been in the past reports of piracy off the Winey coast and reports of smuggling or in the Winey River and Barima River. We are aware that the border between Guyana and Venezuela cross-cuts the Barima River, part of which the mouth of the Barima River empties into the Amacuro River, which is in Venezuela, and the other part is in Guyana. So there is access from Venezuela through the Barima direct into that could lead into the Winey, bypassing the Marijuana station if it pass, and which is just a few minutes from Imbatiro. So the Guyana Police Force sees this as an effort, as a strong effort, I dare say, for the cessation of illegal activities off the Winey coast and through the frontiers of Guyana, namely the Barima and Winey rivers.
This floating base is the second of its kind and is an indication of government's commitment to provide the resources to ensure the law enforcement agencies have access to the necessary resources to effectively carry out their duties.
Stay tuned, more of the Weekly Digest after the break.
The Amalia Fault Hydropower project is essential for a vibrant manufacturing sector. Under the flagship of the LCDS, Norway has transferred earnings from its partnership with Guyana, amounting to some $80 million to the Inter-American Development Bank to fund a part of Guyana's equity share in the project. High amongst the priorities will be ensuring the achievement of more affordable and more reliable energy. Government will deliver the Amalia Fall hydropower project along with all of its attendant benefits. It is expected that there will be an achievement of financial closure and commencement of the construction of this project during 2015. A message from the Government Information Agency. Ghana's crime-fighting capacity has been boosted tremendously. A state-of-the-art forensic laboratory, the formation of the country's first-ever special weapons and tactical SWAT unit, and institutional strengthening are some aspects of the sector's reforms. Capacity building has played an important role as ranks have received training both locally and overseas to effectively deal with various aspects of crime solving. A message from the Government Information Agency.
As Guyana looks to further climb the development ladder, agriculture will become an even more productive sector. And this is why, over the years, government has prioritized building capacity in new farming systems and technologies, biotechnology, and precision agriculture.
This focus on modernizing the agronomic practices has played a significant role on improving productivity and competitiveness, promoting commercialization and adaptation for climate change. There has been the promotion of technologies such as drip irrigation, sprinkler and micro-sprinkler systems, greenhouses, modern farming techniques such as hydroponics, plastic mulch, mechanized cultivation, and the most recent tissue culture through the opening of the new lab at Monrepo. Over the past 5 years, the People's Progressive Party civic government has expended billions of dollars on the Agriculture Ministry towards creating better conditions for farmers as well as developing a vibrant food sector. Other farm systems and techniques from which the local farmers have benefited over the years include seed preparation and cleaning and new rice varieties that have improved production. The latest varieties were just recently launched by the ministry, and further, a bioethanol plant was established. Government's vision is that agriculture will continue to drive sustained economic and social prosperity, playing its part in moving Guyana to a high middle-income country. Focus on research, development, and new technology is critical to accelerating the modernization and orientation of the sector to achieve this goal.
The Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, says it is moving ahead with preparations to ensure that all is in place for the May 11 regional and general elections.
The Guyana Elections Commission's claims and objections process are almost completed, and the electoral body will be moving ahead with a process that takes it to the official list of electors.
We will be visiting by Sunday the 22nd every location in Guyana that is populated. We finished with Massa Canary, there's guns. We'll be going to New River tomorrow. So whatever is the population size, we will be at every location that is populated across the spectrum. So we need to understand that no Guyanese will be left out. They'll be having an opportunity to say, yeah, I want to get on, or I have moved from West Bobis and I'm now working at some mining company at some location. They will have the opportunity to so do. At the end of the exercise, the claims and objections. As you're aware that every new applicant to be on our database, we do a cross-matching exercise.
As of February 17th, there were over 3,000 new registrants and 3,000 transferred during the claims and objections process. However, currently there are 38,000 identification cards not yet uplifted. Nevertheless, if a person does not have an ID card, this will not hinder them from voting on polling day.
From among that 38,000, and we're not saying it is precisely 38,000, all of them would not be voters. Some of them would be below the voting age. That's number one. And number two, the fact that you are not in possession of ID card does not debar you from voting. We have other means of identification which would allow you to vote, providing you turn up at the polling station and your name is on the list.
After the claims and objection process is completed, the Commission will be moving to revise the list, for which changes will be done. And once the list is revised, the official list of electors will be posted during the month of March. In terms of staffing, the Commission is short of some 1,623 persons to work on election day. However, the hiring process is not yet completed, and the Commission will be addressing this issue shortly.
The much-anticipated children's costume and float parade held on February 14 attracted thousands on the route as the colorful march bands with their young revelers took to the streets of Georgetown to portray their talents and showcase Guyana's rich culture.
Those were the live scenes from the children's Mashramani costume and float parade that was held on February 14, which commenced from the parade ground. The participants traversed the streets of Georgetown and concluded at the National Park, where they were judged on creativity and performance. Mashramani fever consumed the hearts of the revelers as they gyrated to the beat of popular soca music. The event attracted thousands of patrons who lined the streets to behold the 48 bands participating.
So far it's good now, we're killing it. We come all the way from Linden and we come from Mashup Georgetown, right home. Competition is really looking thing right now. Right now, if you notice, we represent the R6 culture. This is the cultural reign. We represent everything again, unity, love, harmony. One people, one nation, one destiny, man.
This year is high, bye. My crowd over here, we taking down the road. We winning this year again. We representing the Hinterland Scholarship students. This float here is a pot, and all the ethnic races in the pot. And this here is just a representation of the Amerindian beliefs. It's going good so far, really. I really love the support, even though we had a little rain. But the support is really good. Enjoy much. One people, one celebration. You know the team.
I feel great! Woo! I feel like this year we're going to take the trophy again. It's going to make 11 years since. And this year we're going to go with it again.
I'm having fun, I'm enjoying myself, I'm energetic on the road. And we're from Commissar Secondary School, just enjoying ourselves.
Prior to the Children's Float Parade, there were regional competitions held in every region by students performing dramatic poetry, calypso, dance, and masquerade.
During Cabinet's statutory meeting at the Office of the President on February 17, several issues of national concern were discussed. The media was subsequently briefed on Cabinet's deliberations.
At its February 17 statutory meeting, Cabinet continued to examine the industrial action undertaken by the University of Guyana's administrative staff. The Cabinet has called for staffers to return to their posts before any bargaining restarts.
In that context, the Ministry of Labor remained hesitant about formally providing the services that the Ministry of Labor usually would provide to parties who have descended to industrial unrest at the workplace.
The traditional flag raising activities to mark the nation's 45th Republican anniversary will be led by ministers and senior government officials in the 10 administrative regions.
In Region 1, Minister Whitaker would be in Mabaruma, and Minister Robeson Ben would be in Moruca. In Region 2, Minister Irfan Ali would be in Regina. In Region 3, Dr. Ashni Singh in Breedenhoop. And in Region 4 in Triumph, Dr. Nanda Gopal. Region 5, I think this is at Fort Wellington, the Minister Manik Chand. Region 6, there are 3 cabinet members in this expanse of administrative region. The Prime Minister would be in New Amsterdam. Minister Berry Ramsaran would be in Rose Hall, and Minister Anil Nandlal would be in Corriverton. In Region 7 in Bartica, Cabinet Member Odinga Lumumba. In Region 8, Minister Pauline Sukai. And Region 9, Minister Carlin Rodriguez Burkett would be in St. Ignatius at the Benab. And Region 10, the goodly Bishop 1, Edgehill.
The Cabinet Secretary said that Cabinet is satisfied with the performance of the health sector in 3 main areas despite challenges encountered over the past year. This follows a report on the sector presented by Health Minister Dr. Berry Ramsaran to Cabinet. The report highlighted challenges faced in addressing infant mortality, maternal mortality, and the enforcement of regulations.
How specifically, keeping in mind the Ministry of Health Act, the applicable regulations, and how in the face of what has been reported in 2014 to overcome these obstacles to indeed ensure maximal enforcement.
And now for perspectives with Dr. Prem Mizir.
With the general and regional elections scheduled for May 11, 2015, now a definitive impending event, and at this time with the birth of a coalition still in infancy, the political slanging matches have begun in earnest. But amid this antithesis, the Guyanese people should objectively identify the progressive development and its related challenges in recent years, and assess their impact on Guyana's quality of life. And the ordinary people should not become gullible to the subjective, cherry-picking thinking in this country that has become a characteristic feature of political behavior. Cherry-picking is an ill-informed behavior that mistakenly sees Guyana as being at the stage of a preterm infant. The people who do the cherry-picking only pick the negatives in Guyana, but pay no attention to picking some positives when it comes to speak to development in this country. Indeed, the Guyanese people, with a capacity for objectivity and fairness, can point to Guyana's developmental progress. And of course, the many challenges that constantly slow down the developmental path over the last 3 years, largely caused by the parliamentary gridlock of a do-nothing parliament presided over by the one-seat majority APNU-AFC parliamentary coalition. Many of the PPPC government capital projects fell victims to this APNU-AFC parliamentary logjam. This is the same APNU-AFC coalition that has now reappeared but not fully consummated for the May 11, 2015 elections. The APNU-AFC coalition did not deliver the goods and services in Parliament for the Guyanese people, but were quite successful at reducing their quality of life. How so? The same APNU-AFC coalition poured cold water over the Amila hydropower project, which would have brought much needed employment to large numbers of Guyanese. The APNU-AFC parliamentary coalition used the high costs of this project as one of its arguments against supporting it. The APNU-AFC parliamentary coalition played down the benefits of the Amila hydropower projects, benefits that would have accrued to the people of Guyana. The high cost argument was simply a red herring type of argument. The APNU-AFC parliamentary coalition slowed down several other PPPC government's capital projects, which were vital and still are vital to Guyana's growth. And these significant capital projects that the APNU-AFC parliamentary coalition tried to place in the dustbin of history. The APNU-AFC coalition must explain to the people of Guyana its reasons for playing havoc with the PPPC government's capital projects. I thank you.
And with those features, we have come to the end of this edition of Weekly Digest. But before we go, here's a repeat of the highlights. Chief Justice's ruling to stay conservatory order was correct. Restored money spent on Guyanese. Push for literacy by grade 4 has been given impetus. New local readers launched. Joint services to heighten border patrols to curb illegal activities, and children's costume and float parade mesmerizes Guyanese. Please note that Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at ginagovgy@gmail.com. Join us again next week as we highlight more of the government's programs and policies that are aimed at enhancing the lives of citizens. I am Shanti Poberdan. Do have a safe week ahead. Goodbye.